Hello and welcome to Dry But Wet's Meet the Maker, a series of conversations with the clever folks who are breaking new ground by creating incredible tasting, non-alcoholic beverages. This is less about the how and more about the why. We're getting to know the makers behind the brands, discovering their motivations, and hopefully replicating a little of the storytelling we're so familiar with from the wine industry. I'm your host, Amy Armstrong of Dry But Wet, passionate, non-alcoholic drinks expert, reviewer, and sober socialite. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the unceded lands on which we live, work, and record these conversations. That's the Gunditjmara people of the Mara Nation. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Today on the podcast, I am joined by Catie of Clovendo Distillery.
Hi, Amy.
Now, hi, Catie, and welcome. Now, I've known of Clovendo, I think, since early on in my sober journey, and have tried all of your beautiful drinks and love them all. But I'm not really here to talk about your drinks. I'm here to talk to you about your drinks. So I'd like to begin by you giving us a little bit of a run through or an elevator pitch about what Clovendo is all about.
Sure. Okay. Well, firstly, passionately proud of is that we're Australia's first all-female distilling company, so founded, owned, and operated.
High five.
So our products, obviously, being the master distiller, and where I started, from my imaginings of how these drinks should taste and the experience they should give. I guess they've kind of come from a female lens, so it is kind of just fitting that they somehow, call out to females, to a lot of women. Not saying that men do not drink Clovendo or are not made to be drunk by men. Actually, in fact, some of our most loyal, regular, passionate supporters of Clovendo are men, and usually quite kind of tradie types and middle-aged and everything, which has been absolutely divine. I love it. But anyway, a bit of an elevator pitch. Yes, I've been distilling for another distilling company that I founded in 2016 with an all-male team, including my husband. I started distilling with them rum and gin, so working with alcohol. During my time since 2016 of distilling, I really noticed that there was just a real yearning from a lot of people who walked into our distillery door to create that non-alcoholic experience, to replicate, to give that same experience to people who walked in that door, who were just as interested about the craft around distilling and the experience of a sophisticated drink, boasting all wonderful flavor profiles and the botanicals that come out of our country. So I guess I saw that there were a lot of people wanting that experience but weren't able to drink. So I started working on that. I've also got, obviously, being a mother, a couple of pregnancies and breastfeeding and everything, I also experienced that FOMO kind of as well, and the lack of options out there. So I started researching. Probably, at the time I started researching them, there was really only Seedlip and Branson distilling that was in the spotlight in London, before it was even available here to buy on shelves in Australia. So I read the same. He did The Art of Distillation, and I read that book and kind of got some ideas from that. That was what inspired him to create his products, and it kind of gave me a bit of an idea as well. So I worked on that, was inspired by Seedlip, and then brought it out probably a few years ago. But it was only until a couple of years ago that I really had the courage to make Clovendo its own entity and then create Clovendo Distilling Co.
So you actually had Clovendo as part of the alcoholic distilling label at the beginning.
I was selling it just quietly at the distillery door and to a few local restaurants and bars and so forth, under the umbrella of Capricorn Distilling Co. And then I just realised that it didn't fit with, the other products we were selling, even the brand and everything. And I felt like it deserved its complete own life. And then I also started making low alcoholic versions of my non-alcs, so using the same flavor profiles, the same recipes. Of course, there's some tweaking to do because when you're working with alcohol to non-alcohol, it requires that. But I started realizing that low and no was where my place was as a distiller, and my passion, and where there was a need. Because for me, without sounding too, but inclusivity is so important to me, because obviously I experienced some very, that unconscious gender bias being in the distilling industry, as a lot of industries still have. It's there in the dark corners of many industries. And, it does take time. It takes time for people to change and for things to adapt. But I just felt like inclusivity was really important to me as a person, and I wanted that to be what drives us as a distilling company.
Yeah, so that's really cool that people were actually coming to an alcoholic distillery and asking or giving you a sense that they wanted to have options, even in that context. Like, you wouldn't think that turning up to a distillery you would even need to I don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be like, to me, going to a winery and being like, can I have some non-alcoholic wine? If I'm going to a winery and, back in my drinking days, I wouldn't even think about that option. But I guess there is always the demand, and you were getting shown that at the time.
We had that distillery door open. We haven't long moved to the Gold Coast. We're in Rockhampton. We're on the Bruce Highway. Not many people, there's no public transport and Ubers in Rockhampton. It was people coming through driving. So with every load of people that came, there was one sober driver, right? So whether or not they were actually living a sober lifestyle, they were having at that time to be sober, to drive. So it was like with every group that came in, and there were a lot of groups, they were walking out with a bottle of Clovendo, and they really loved the surprise fact that they still got to learn about the distilling and still be there with drinkers tasting something that still had that complexity and that craft.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think for me, of all of the drinks that I've tried over my non-alc journey, I think this non-alc spirit space is like the most interesting. I find personally that what I'm trying is not necessarily like a direct replication of say a gin or whatever. You're getting something that's a really unique kind of flavor profile, and it kind of gives you more room to have a lot more fun with it, and freedom, I think, to make these really individual drinks. Do you find that also as a producer?
For sure. So I wanted my products to not replicate, as to be I guess a mimic of a certain of a gin or a whiskey or anything like that. You can do that. It's very hard to replicate that mouthfeel of alcohol. I'm a distiller, right? I make alcoholic beverages too. It's almost near on impossible. There are some certain ingredients and things that you can do to kind of get that bit of a burn and that a bit of that mouthfeel. But basically, to do it naturally, and Clovendo is all natural. We will not put anything that is anything artificial, anything synthetically made. Nothing goes in there that is not pure botanicals, and that's what we do. So, in order to replicate and mimic, generally, you need to be adding things that you can't pick from a tree or put in there. So as a nutrition background, I wanted to stay true to that as well. So I wanted the botanicals to speak for themselves. But I didn't want to be a mimic. So what I chose to do was conjure up a few kind of experiences, worldly, like traveling experience I had. So one is like a Southeast Asian inspired one. One is a Middle Eastern inspired one, those spice trails. And so the smells and the aromas, the taste you're getting kind of take you somewhere. It's like a little, you're traveling somewhere. So I think, and then you've kind of got the Australian kind of one that reminds me of a nana's backyard. Did you have an interruption just there, Amy?
Mm-hmm. Everyone forgets.
I've got my kids in the back room. I locked them in saying, stay on your devices. I'm surprised they haven't come out. But then you've got, your Australian kind of one, which reminds me of, transports you back to like Nana's backyard, sitting outside with the lavender and rosemary. So yes, so that's where I wanted to send people who were tasting it on a little journey. And I guess that's where I wanted to go with mine. So I could be playful with it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun making it. It was also moments of like, oh my gosh, there was a lot of batches that got tipped down the drain and spat out. but that's it takes time, and lots of times I was like, oh, I'll give up, but I finally arrived on all three to where I wanted to be, and it was more through getting an experience from tasting it, from transporting me back to there. That's what I wanted to get. So
that's so cool. So tell us a little bit more about, because there's three in the range. There's
sprout and stem.
Yep, and seed.
Yeah. So seed, I would probably say, is the most boldest. That's very like lavender, rosemary infused. But then I've kind of put in, lemon myrtle for that Australian native, and then lemon thyme, orange peel. So that's giving you a really earthy kind of herbaceous hit. I'd call that I suppose more along the lines of a botanical vodka. Because obviously to be a gin, you must have juniper berries in there, and 2 out of the 3 don't, which is stem and seed. Mm-hmm. I did that on purpose too, because I felt that there were quite a few non-alc gins on the market, and so I wanted to give the juniper berries a little bit of a rest and let
work.
And let some of the other flavour profiles shine more. Yeah. And I just also thought, well, botanical vodkas, when done well, so I wanted to shine a little bit light on that too. Gin's we love gin, but gin's has had a lot of attention. So I'm interested to see where botanical vodkas go soon, because we've got all these amazing botanicals that are here in this country as well that we haven't even started on yet. And then we've got Sprout, which is your Middle Eastern spice trail. That's more along the lines of your gin profile. So that's got the juniper berries and a host of other amazing botanicals, organic rose petals and licorice root and star anise, pink peppercorn, ruby red grapefruit peel, you name it, all organic.
Amazing ingredients.
Yeah, so many more. I can't think of them all. Licorice root, coriander, cumin. So I love making that one because seriously, my hands just smell divine. On all 3, but particularly Sprout. It's just, you can bottle it and spray it all over you. I love it. And then you've got Stem, and I'm a big fan of Stem. It's very crisp. It's very easy just to have with soda water to keep 100% sugar free. It's your Southeast Asian inspired one. So we're talking lemongrass, ginger, galangal, kaffir lime leaf, lime peel, and mint. And it just makes a fantastic virgin pina colada without all the sugar and the cream and all that. I really love that. And actually, the whole awards thing I'm still a little bit, I sit on the fence with putting products in awards. But I decided with my vodka stem, because it was my favourite of the vodka range, and it seems to be a favourite of many people, my Clovendo Stem 24, I thought I'll enter it into a competition, just that one product and just one competition to see how I go. And I entered it into the Australian Distilled Spirits Awards recently and came back with a trophy. And I felt, so I think it gave us that little boost to just kind of remind us that, yeah, there's something in the mid-strength category that is very exciting to mid-strength spirits, that it's not really a thing yet, but I think it's really going to be. And I'm really excited about being there and being part of it. And just, it's so great that, it was blind judging. There was nothing to do with gender. There was nothing to do with how long you've been distilling for, how much money your company is worth. And it was just really nice to see us, grab something for that.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was really nice. Yeah. Unexpected, but nice. Well, not that unexpected. I'm obviously biased.
You were totally expecting it. Well, this is such a new and rapidly growing space, and we're not able to rely on the traditional methods that alcohol producers can. So, like, for example, with what you're doing, you're not relying on alcohol to stabilize anything. So you're sort of at the frontier of making things up as you go along and trial and error and working things out. What have been the biggest challenges for you in creating the Clovendo range?
Probably, obviously, actually, it was really interesting. That's the stability of a product. So, like I say, being a nutrition therapist, working only with like organic botanicals and fresh botanicals, and having that real integrity around nothing added, just bottled goodness straight out of the still. But having to keep the shelf life, the stability of a product that does not have alcohol, which is a natural preservative, but then not wanting to put preservatives in to taint what it is. It's very hard. Unfortunately, for any commercial non-alcoholic spirit that goes on the shelf, or non-alcoholic beverage, it is required by Australian law, of course, to keep all consumers safe, yes, that there must be some preservatives in there. And there are a couple that, so for me, I guess it was just trying to find that took a long time to make sure that we had the integrity around as organic, as natural as possible, but as safe and, having all the legalities around that. So it took a lot of time working with the lab and everything to make sure that the flavors weren't muddied by any of those preservatives, but there were enough in there to keep everyone healthy. And, talking about preservatives and things like that is very hard for producers and for marketing, because nobody wants to talk about it.
No.
And nobody wants to talk because marketing is so clever. And that leads me into the next thing that has been really hard to stomach in the industry. And I may be a little bit bold, a little audacious here, but there is not enough governing or regulations yet around the non-alcoholic category that myself, and that is echoed by myself and many, many other fellow producers. Fantastically, in Australia, a lot of us work together. We talk, we share, there is transparency, and there is a huge amount of support, and just like we're cheering each other on. Love it. It's the way it should be. But there are a lot of us that are frustrated at the lack of transparency for consumers around what is in what they're drinking, not only for financial, not only because, knowing as producers more of an idea of the process, the ingredients, and the production costs of some particular brands and how they've gotten around maybe saying that it's a non-alc where it might have the processes of something, of soft drink. There's just a lot of things are muddied. So I suppose for me, it's trying to educate people in a new market, consumers, wholesalers, so that everybody else is well informed, because we're all adults. We're all trying to drink adult, sophisticated beverages. So we should be given the transparency to make informed choices of why we're paying for what we're paying for, and what we are putting into our bodies. So I guess that if that answers both your questions, the two challenges was, getting that balance right with the stability of the drinks and of the products, and then also just trying to educate the consumers and making sure that we're working hard as producers to put some rules and regulations in and advocate for the best interest of our consumers.
Yeah, it is a tricky one, and it is something that a lot of consumers aren't aware of, and it's something that I try and talk about quite a bit. Is looking on the bottle. I mean, with non-alc, at least it is required as a food standards thing to have the ingredients listed, but quite often people aren't, I guess, even used to looking for those things, are they?
No, and I think everyone should treat the same thing. If you've bought yourself, a healthy bar of whatever, or a muesli bar for your kid's lunchbox or something, generally we've been learning to check out the nutrition label. Don't just because you see some fruit on the front that says natural on it doesn't mean, we generally, most of us will look at the food label, not everyone, and kind of make their decision themselves. As soon as you start seeing things like cane sugar, blah, 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 as up the top. But no, I don't think enough people are looking, because they're just, it's just still so new. But it does worry me. And just terms that are being used around spirits and things like that. A spirit is distilled. It should be distilled. So are certain products that are calling themselves a non-alcoholic spirit, are they actually distilled? Then, the Australian Distillers Association would pretty much not be happy about that either. And we've got to keep that integrity around that too, because all distillers are working hard, and every category deserves the respect that they should be given. So even for actually people who do produce alcohol, well, they want to make sure that the non-alcoholic category is respecting them as well, and that they're respecting just as much as we want them to respect us as a category. So it's got to work, both things. So as you can tell with me and my hands and the way I talk,
quite passionate about this, Catie.
Very passionate about it. Literally, I'll stop.
No, it's something that's really important. And it's funny, like the reverse happens to me now, is I'll pick up a bottle of alcohol and go to look at the ingredients. I'm like, whoa, there's no ingredients on this, because I'm so used to checking all the ingredients on my drinks now. It's weird when you go and look at a bottle of alcohol and it's not there. But so hopefully we can start to see some regulation in the space, because I mean, anyone can get away with anything at the moment, can't they?
Yes, they can. And it worries me, because I suppose I'm sorry if I keep yapping on, but I suppose what also worries me is that a lot of people who choose to go the alternative route and go sober living are people who might be diabetic, trying to lose weight, allergies, but most importantly, pregnant women. So pregnant women are trying to fuel their bodies and look after a growing child inside them, and they are trusting in people like us to give them the right fuel. So I think it's absolutely it's just not on for companies to be lying to people who are vulnerable like that. And I just I'm without these regulations and all that, then there could actually be really, really terrible consequences. And then nothing, and we've seen it in a lot of things, often things don't get done until that happens, until a series of those things happen. Why would we wait? So but we are trying. It's hard, like anything, trying to add changes into things. It's not terribly hard. It's just a bit slow and a little there's a few curveballs here or there, but we will keep going. I think there's enough of us now in this industry, in this category, of not just producers, but people like yourself and who are really keen to make sure that we're paying what we should be paying for, and getting into our bodies what we should, what is being told,
Well, on the subject of paying, I do get asked a lot about the price of nonelk. There are a lot of arguments that go around and around in circles about why we're paying, $50 for a bottle of what is essentially water.
Sure.
I know what my thoughts are, but
Yes.
I'm very interested to hear yours, Catie.
Sure, our thoughts are pretty similar. And yes, I've heard that millions of times, and I've had people just go, so you're just selling flavoured water and stuff. And I'm like, come in one day, spend an entire day with me, watch me distill and what I put in there, then we'll just ask you that question again. So I guess what I can only go back to again there is look at the nutrition label. You'll work that out. So I can tell you that, yes, from my knowledge, there are some products out there that production cost could be close to a bottle of Fanta, and you are paying $45 a bottle for it. I'm really sorry if that pops anyone's bubble. And again, that's why we're trying to do what we're trying to do. And then there are an example that I can give is that everything that from Clovendoe's perspective, everything that goes into the bottle that you receive comes straight out of the still. Nothing else added, nothing diluted into it. Every drop, and it comes out like drops that come out of that still, goes into and bottle that bottle. Nothing less. Yeah. So the cost of botanicals, especially organic, is very high, even higher every day for us during COVID times with supply. Yes. Including bottles, so all cost of goods sold. We have not passed that on to the customer, though. But so where I'm getting at is I make a non-alcoholic version with alcohol. I make an alcoholic version. A non-alcoholic version without alcohol, an alcoholic version with alcohol. Mm. It costs us more in production to make the non-alc. So we actually make very little. I'm being so candid here on our non-alcoholic product. Yeah. Because firstly, we have to pack 4 times the amount of botanicals into the non-alcs to give it the kick that it needs, because it doesn't have alcohol as a solvent to extract all that the botanicals out. So, you don't have the alcohol that gives you that burn, the experience that some people are looking for in a non-alc that you're trying to replicate. Yes. So that's 4 times the amount of organic botanicals and I work with 21 organic botanicals. So
many botanicals
across the range of 3. So you're doing that. So 4 times the amount of ingredients, and then the labor, of course, of prepping all those botanicals, because prepping means de-stemming, stripping, grating, zesting, juicing, all those kind of things, cutting, blending. So you're doing that 4 times. So I'm doing very long, but you get the drift. And then obviously power and everything, because to extract it, it takes longer to extract to get what you're putting in the still out of the still than the alcohol, because it comes out a different way. So yes, so it definitely, with Clovendoe, you're getting what you paid for. I can't say, and for a lot of other brands I know of, not going to use names of anyone. So, but the only way you're going to see that is to see how it's made. Is it 100% distilled? You're getting what you paid for. I would suggest. If it's not 100% distilled, you make up your mind by looking at the nutrition label and maybe getting on website, do some research. But again, like I say, very muddied. So that question is very, very, very relevant, very important, but you're going to have to do your own research. Yeah. Unless somebody wants to go and do research and put it up there and publish it for transparency. Someone like me would not do that. Other producers, that would not be fair in the market. That would be a horrible thing to do. But I've given my advice as a producer. If somebody wants to go there, I would welcome it, and a lot of other great producers, because then people will see.
Yeah, people will know what they're getting. So a lot of people believe that, or a lot of naysayers say that non-alc is a fad. I don't think that non-alc is a fad at all. I think what we're seeing is a meteoric rise at the moment. But what do you say to them, Catie?
See it as a fad. I don't see that. I don't see it in our sales. I don't see it in the stats. I don't hear it. Looking at the trend in other countries, America, UK, a lot of European countries. No, and then you've got to think of everyone who's on a strict halal diet, and the population there. I think more and more people. I mean, if it could become a fad if all of a sudden the market gets flooded and people start losing confidence in the quality and the transparency around things, then perhaps, because people might just be like, enough, like might as well just stick to the lemon lime bitters that we've been drinking since 1985. But I don't think that's going to happen, because I'm seeing people getting excited about it. Other producers are really excited about it. We're super excited about it. We're working on a new product right now.
Are you?
Yes. It's really exciting. Really painful too. There's one thing that's killing me. But yeah, so I don't think it is a fad, but we'll see, won't we? I think the low is going to be a really interesting space, with having that kind of balance, because that mindfulness. And I think it would be I think I'm really excited to see where the low category takes us, for the people who are just dipping their toes in that mindfulness kind of waters. Like you think, I know that mid-strength beers are the biggest seller nationally. So yeah, they are, out of all the beers. So that's really,
I didn't know that.
We're seeing more wines and sparkling wines that are more towards the low as well, coming in, that are more on the premium end, and tasting really amazing. So obviously I know, this is more about non-alcohol, your area, but I just think, sometimes going low for people is that transition to going no. And it's, I think it works. It's a nice stepping stone at least. So it's interesting to see that.
Well, I went for a long time thinking that everyone who followed me on Instagram was a non-drinker until I started actually asking people and having conversations with people, and realized that more often than not, people were still drinking. They were just looking to cut back, or as you said, dipping their toe into drinking less. So it's definitely it doesn't be one or the other.
Yeah, that's why I love what we do, being a low and no. Like it's distilling company, because we have customers that started with 24 and now order the nons. And I've had a couple of times like I'll email them back, hey, just checking, you normally get the 24, you didn't accidentally go into the wrong. And they're like, no, I'm going to go for the thing. I've had a few, and it's kind of just been a really nice, it's been a really, really nice feeling to kind of go, that's good. They were just kind of in their way. So, and just some people buying a mix of both, and they just go, Friday, Saturdays, I go your 24s, and Monday to Friday, it stopped me doing it's kind of the same. They've got those same flavors, so I don't really notice. Put it in a nice wine glass and some ice and a garnish, and you can trick your brain into thinking you're having a mid-strength one. So
a nice glass can make all the difference.
Can't it just? Yeah. Are you obsessed with glassware too? Because
You know, I didn't even buy wine glasses until I stopped drinking.
Yeah, really.
I used to drink my wine out of a mug. I was such a, yeah, anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But yes, I've only invested in nice glassware since I stopped drinking.
Yeah. Oh, I get very excited. I would have never thought I'd say that.
I'm a glass nerd.
I am. But yeah, so I suppose, yeah, I really don't think it's a fad. I think it's a really enjoyable, exciting space that we can have so much fun with. Like, already you just see the amount of cool virgin cocktails, recipes that you see online, just, trawling through, and it's just like, wow, like we've come a long way, and so many people's lives have been made easier to transition as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just having options. There's just so many great non-alcoholic, like I say, when I was saying earlier, when I first started researching to go, okay, I think I want to try my hand at distilling non-alc. How do I do that? When it was Seedlip in London, I couldn't order a bottle of Seedlip unless I got it from London sent to me.
Over on a slow boat. Yeah.
That was not that long ago at all. And look now, like it's been amazing. Just need consumers to do their research. If they feel disappointed at the cost, trust me, you've got to do your research, and then I can tell you won't get disappointed if you do it.
I can read between all of the lines, Catie, and I know exactly what you're saying. What has surprised you most about your journey with creating Clovendo?
The amount of cheerleaders who come. Yeah. Probably I stood up early when I first founded the distilling company and was a little vocal, as you know, I'm a bit like that. And I was a little bit vocal about why I started an all-female distilling company. And I guess I got a lot of hate at first. Well, I pushed a few noses out of joint with that. And I suppose, that was a really interesting journey at the start. I had to really, really, really assess what I was trying to say, what I stood for as a company, and as a product. And, I had people saying to me, oh, if you're too female heavy with both your products and your I guess your model, that you have your company around, the female kind of focus, then you're probably alienating yourself a little from half the market, which is men. But for me, I had to really think about it, and then I kind of looked at some of the other big companies that have become successful selling beverages, and some of those that come to mind that are very male dominated with male names and so forth, and very marketed to men. I look, Johnny Walker, Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, all those all those ones. I know it's not non-alcoholic, but we're still talking. I guess what I thought was, I bet nobody came to them and said, do you realize you could be alienating women? Do you think that's a wise idea? I'm sure nobody came to them. Why do you have a distillery full of men, but the only women working there are doing the accounts in the back? Like, there were little things like that where I thought, no, I'm not standing back. This is me saying, let's level the balance. Balance the playing field a little bit. I'm okay with that. And you'll always get haters. You'll always get people calling you out for, whether it be misandry or whatever. And I had to go, should I be so fierce? Should I be so loud about it? But then I looked at it and looked at the double standards, and I just thought, well, then I'm not being true to myself, and I'm not then I'm not giving what I should as a company or in my product. So I decided to
stick with your guns.
So I guess that's probably the biggest thing I've learned and everything is just you will find your cheerleaders, and they will be men, they'll be women, they will be of different ages. You will find them and try to listen to those voices rather than the ones trying to, because you'll get them wherever you are. Whatever business you try to do, there will always be people trying to do that, and that's okay, because that's business, right? And it's just there to test you. So I think, just sticking by my guns, and I just have loved the support I've had from women and men, but just there's been a lot of sisters really kind of just be like, you go girl, and I've loved it because
Well, I mean, as you know, the whole this real force of women working in this non-alc space, and it's fabulous.
But like I say, there's just been some wonderful stories of like, this man, he's a plumber, and he said he emailed me because he was something with his order, and I thought I'm just going to ask him what he orders a lot of it, why and when. He goes, oh no, like it just, as soon as I found you, I stopped drinking in the week completely and just drank Clovendoe. I drink it with my missus because that's the way he talks.
Yeah.
Drink it with my missus because I used to just drink the booze every day. It slowed me down. Look, when I go on my fishing trips with the blokes, I won't take one of your bottles because I'll get rid of it. That's a really honest thing. And he goes, it slows me down. I share it with my wife. I don't do it on the weekend, on the fishing trip.
Yeah.
Okay. And I loved it. I was just like, well, that's awesome. Yeah. Like,
yeah, that's such a cool story.
Yeah. And I've had quite a lot of them, and it's great. And that's what's made me laugh along the way.
Yeah.
When I've heard people say to me, you're going to alienate men or thing market. No, because women still drink Jim Beam, right? Jack Daniels. People will just drink what they like, and that's pretty much the end of it. So
one more final question for you. Is there a story behind the lady, the dancer on the bottle?
Yeah, there is. It's a really long-winded one. I think I've spent a lot of time talking, and I feel like this one needs a lot of explanation. It's quite personal for me, really, but she's a fun, sophisticated party woman. She's rooted to the earth. She's everything. She's the perfect imperfection. She's the imperfect perfection. Like, she is a woman. Yeah. Earthy and raw and fun and wild, and we've got all these sides to us, but grounded to the earth. And there's a lot into it. I worked on it with a artist friend of mine, Nellie Lovegrove, and we spent ages and ages to get this woman right, and we love her. She's our Clovendo. Pardon?
Does she have a name?
No, she is just our Clovendo lady.
Your Clovendo lady. I love that.
So so it's just, she's it. We love her.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. Well, she's iconic.
Yeah,
completely.
Yeah, she's not easy to explain. There we go. That's sum it up. No, we're complex.
Yes, just like us. Not easy to explain.
Just like Clovendoe. Complex.
Yeah. Well, Catie, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real joy to learn more about the story behind Clovendoe and all the work that's gone into creating your beautiful range of drinks. So thank you.
Thanks for doing this, and thanks for listening to me rattle on.
There's been no rattling. It's been all very interesting. Remember, for all your non-alcoholic drinks recommendations, head to drybutwet.com.au. Join me next time on Meet the Maker as I chat to another creative producer and learn all about their product and passion.